Today's video covers GaoGaiGar, 3G Final, and 3G Final Grand Glorious Gathering. GaoGaiGar is the 8th and final entry in the Yuusha franchise, a collection of unrelated super robot series I've been reviewing over the past few months. The story follows Guy, an astronaut who nearly dies after encountering aliens, subsequently undergoing life-saving surgery, becoming an android. There's also Mamoru, a young boy with a mysterious past who discovers his latent magical powers. Together, they face aliens who transform stressed Japanese citizens into powerful kaiju with abilities related to their disposition. I thought it offered some of the best characters in the franchise as they presented bittersweet, tragic, and mysterious backstories. There's also some heartwarming bonding and a hint of romance. Every character, including the first set of antagonists, exudes personality. The problem is that combat is prioritized to the extent their meaningful interactions are too brief for an anime of this length. It's the longest Yuusha anime, but prioritizes characters the least. This wouldn't be much of an issue if the story were engaging. Unfortunately, it doesn't get much deeper than heroes because they're good versus aliens because they're bad until its final acts. Even then, their motives and grand explanations are eye-rolling at best. Although I enjoyed the character development peppered throughout the series, I never felt satisfied with the amount of meaningful interactions that we got. Plus, I felt only its first half was consistently enjoyable. The Four Machine Kings arc featured mysterious and beautifully designed enemies, creating a dark and ominous atmosphere, satisfyingly offsetting our heroes' quirky and colorful personalities. It's a unique experience I enjoyed for more than just the aesthetic alone. The Machine Kings methodically crafted some of the most menacing monsters after analyzing our heroes' weaknesses, making for the most intense Yuusha battles. Sadly, my interest waned after the Four Machine Kings' exhilarating conclusion transitioned to a linear plot against the Primevals. I didn't mind combat oversaturation in the first half because the villains were intriguing. However, the following enemies lacked the same degree of personality and interesting character designs. These are actually the only two I can remember. That's because this one guy has a giant arm, and this one looks like Pain's obnoxious uncle. That's not to say its second half is bad, but you'll be disappointed if you expect anything other than a predominance of large-scale, shallow-scope action. At least GaoGaiGar offers what's probably the best-produced cel-animated super robot battles ever made. I never once got tired of its lengthy transformation sequences saturated with a level of detail I've never seen. Maybe it's because this is the only Yuusha to be graced by Blu-ray, but its crisp picture allowed me to see every spring, sprocket, and gear moving in tandem with particle effects and an epic soundtrack. Instead of the singular trademark ultimate attack animation, the 3G team develops a series of weapons with unique abilities requiring teamwork. For example, the eraser that dissipates and misdirects harmful energy, the screwdriver splitting a wedge in the fabric of reality, and a set of giant pliers to break through barriers, to name a few. Additionally, these are among the best kaiju designs I've ever seen, certainly leagues above its Yuusha predecessors. Their designs match their ability, which correlates with their human hosts. These are also among my favorite mech designs in the franchise. I love the practical aesthetic depicting its components from their original forms. It's kind of plain, but just the way I loved my G1 Transformers, and saves all of the flashy designs for their combinations. The battles themselves are often dynamic, changing with their setting as there's environmental damage, at least when they're not in space or inside their protective zone created by the dividing driver. There's a constant but steady power creep, introducing new allies, weapons, and powers, continuously raising the bar of intense mech battles. I can totally understand why this is considered the predecessor to Gurren Lagann, because it's got the same energy. It's just a shame that its other components fail to rise to the same level. The 49-episode series is extended with an 8-episode OVA in 2000 and a 12-episode series in 2005, which are basically the same. These stories introduce new heroes and villains while expanding upon its lore, and the explanations were just as asinine as before. Thankfully, the action is once again the star of the show. I didn't think these battles could become more extreme, but I was gladly proven wrong. I don't know why the OVAs were re-edited into a TV series, but I can tell you how it felt. Grand Glorious Gathering felt like a cheap tie-in to sell leftover Better Man DVDs since they're both Sunrise anime. I'm only 5 episodes away from finishing Better Man, and so far I see no significant connection other than an Easter egg. However, my review should be up next week. Considering I don't recommend watching both of the versions of GGG Final, I say the OVA is your better choice as it's shorter and less confusing. Overall, I think GaoGaiGar is a house made of diamond bricks using Elmer's glue as mortar. It has top-tier action and animation, great but underdeveloped characters, and a bland plot. If it were better balanced, I wouldn't hesitate to give it a 10. Instead, I'm giving it an 8. I recommend it to all fans of Super Robot anime. Oddly, it's the most recommended Yuusha anime, and I don't think its action alone justifies that status. Without context, it's likely to become a polarizing experience for the uninitiated. Although I wish it fleshed out its characters like Dagarn, J-Decker, or Dagwon, my Yuusha experiences allowed me to appreciate the little things much more. These anime are goofy, filled with tropes and Easter eggs, which I view as a good thing given the context, so I'm unsure if anyone new to Yuusha would pick up on that. To see how this ranks against other entries, stay tuned for my beginner's guide to Yuusha. If you absolutely love GaoGaiGar, the pinned comment will include supplementary material such as subtitle audio CDs and short stories to fill in the gaps between episodes. I also wanted to apologize for the absence of videos. I've been working on my 1960s ranking video containing over 50 entries, many of which I'm still watching. I initially thought I covered everything worthwhile, but now I realize there are a few more individual reviews I should make. Expect those soon after Better Man. Special thanks to Nia-chan for 3rd tier support and everyone listed here for supporting the channel on Patreon. I'll see you soon with Better Man.